Hi guys, welcome back to Riding with Cash. Hope you're well and safe. So Interceptor needs an oil change, and usually I go to a garage or ask somebody to do an oil change, but this time I'm planning to do it myself. It's actually very easy. One of the biggest reasons is, for some inflammatory reasons or inflation reasons, whatever you call it. When I went to the actual dealership, they said $500 to do an oil change on Interceptor, which is ridiculous because they don't have people to work. For us, it's actually really cheap. The filter was $18. The oil change kit is $10. The oil itself be another $10. For something that costs as close to as $35, it should not be $500. It's, I think, labor. People don't know how to fix bikes. It's actually pretty simple. It's one nut to open. Anyway, so let's go get some oil. It needs 10W50, which is recommended oil in there. Very simple. Drain it out, take the filter out, and fill it back again, 3.1 liters. As simple as that. $18 for the original Interceptor filter, but $37 for the oil. Now, the oil that I got is recommended Interceptor oil is 10W50. I got 15W50, the closest oil I could get. It's very hard to find 10W50, and I saw a bunch of forums, everybody's actually using 15W50, either Interceptor, Continental GT, or Himalayan, which is pretty close. I have the oil catch, catch the oil. It has 3.1 liters of oil in there, catch it in there, take this kit down to any of the places you buy the stuff from. They dispose the oil free of cost, and that's the beauty of it. Yes, the oil is disposed free of cost. And then I get, one of the filter grips, so you can remove the filter easily and successfully. I have all the tools, basic tools to open the oil drain plug and drain the oil out. Simple rules, make sure the bike's a bit warmed up, and make sure everything comes out. Open the cap so the air goes through, all the oil comes out. Take the filter out, and then same sequence back. Put the new filter again on the ring of the filter, put some oil in there, tighten it at the right torque, which I think is 2 pounds or something. The pressure is recommended, which I know I can kind of gauge it with my hands. You don't have to really tighten the filter really tight. You don't need to. Same thing with the oil plug, drain plug in. Tighten it properly. Ground rules: lefty loosey, righty tighty. We all remember those old rules. Make sure tighten properly, clean it up completely so there's no leak coming through, and then 3.1 liters of oil in there. So let's go and make an oil change. So we're heading to the bay, the washing bay. It has a drain in there, just in case, to keep everything safe and clean. Let's go to the bay. So bike's right here in the parking lot. I got a lot of marks from the last rain ride I had. Gets patches all over. So I'll take care of that when I wash it later. Basically, I'll take it down to the bay. I'll warm it for a few minutes. Should be good enough. Caution: bike does get hot. All the motorcycles do, especially the exhaust and the engine areas. I have been burnt, and I'm super careful. I usually wear long sleeves. It's hot in this garage, but I wear long sleeves just in case, I'm a little bit, careless. Generally not, but I have got stung, and it's pretty bad burn to get from a hot motorcycle. You don't want that. So that being said, let's get the bike out. We will warm it up for a few minutes. That should do it. Ooh, let's go. All right, let's do this. Now, ideally, when you're doing an oil change, you have to put it on the center stand. Makes it easier. The bike's centered. You can open the drain pretty easily and make sure all the oil comes out. So let's put it on the flip stand. My hand that got hurt still is pretty raw. So there's a trick to put on the flip stand. Flip it backwards, off it goes, off the kickstand, and then we rock and roll. So this is the oil collector. It'll pretty much collect all the 4 liters in there. You open the drain here, keep this away. Make sure you put it underneath. It slopes, so it'll collect everything in there. There we go. You got it right underneath here. These things generally get very hot. You got to be very careful. Watch your hands, watch your face. Usually, a lot of people put the bike a bit high so you can work underneath it, but I don't have those arrangements. There you go. Maybe I have to go the other side. I already got it loose, so it was very easy to loosen the nut in there. Gotta make sure I have some working space in there. There we go. Loosen this up. It's pretty easy. Can I work with hand? Maybe not yet. I got loose enough so I can work with my hands. I can get all the oil out. There you go. And off comes the oil. Nice and clean. It's not that bad. This nut is very special. It has a magnet on top of it. So if you see, it has little particles. See, metal particles. You can actually see it. Nothing to get scared of. Very usual on a new bike. It'll all see. You can actually feel the metal. These are metal shavings that come off. A bunch of oil changes, and this will get better. The metal collects it. That's why it's very important to do an oil change on a new motorcycle regularly. And all you have to do is clean this up, and nothing to be scared of. Very usual. And when you put it back, make sure you put it back in the right way, slowly. These threads are important, otherwise it'll be hard to get a similar nut. I mean, you can get an equivalent nut, but without a magnet. The magnet does the magic. Something else you need to do is, for oil to empty it completely, this is a place where you actually pour the oil on the top. See if it opens up. A little nudge might help it. I don't want to break anything here. No, I don't want to break it. I'll probably borrow a plier. How do I do that? See, my right hand's full of this, and it's broken hands. I'm having difficulty opening this. And with one big tug, you open this up. It's good. Oh, it's actually metal in the bottom. Interesting, plastic on the top. Seems to be okay and clean. Keep it away safely so you don't lose them. So you need them. So this will get the air through. I have a filter grip that fits to the size, right? So like $6-7. It's much easier. Life becomes easier, right? Put it on top of the filter. Take a nut out because you'll need this back. I think it's what size was that? Yeah, that's 3/4. This is all common size. Put it back in, right? Little torque in there. See, everything is still hot. So you put it in there, hoping that filter should come out. Need some pressure in there. Oops, it won't fit. So gotta make sure it fits right. Okay, there you go. It's in there. Let me see if I can put it open without much torque. One go, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the filter's out. Wasn't that difficult. One little tug and everything came out. And off comes the filter. Make sure everything is drained out from the filter. Now this is a horizontal filter, so there's no need to fill it in. Otherwise, if you get a vertical top filter, it has a different trick. You gotta fill those filters in before you mount them in. So this is much easier, pretty straightforward bike to actually work on. And that's it, you're good to go. I did drop a few oil drops on the garage floor. I'll get some sand, make sure everything got soaked up, wipe it off and throw it ecologically safely. I'll take it with me. The garage would take it. So that's pretty good. It's still dripping oil, but make sure all the oil does come off safely out of the bike, because it's important for it to completely be out. It's not very difficult to do an oil change. You should know what you're doing. These bikes are pretty simple that way. There's a procedure or a process to fill this thing back again carefully. Make sure you have the right amount in there. It's a 3.1 liter, so I'll go up to 3 liters, warm up the bike, make sure the level's correct, put another 100 ml, and we should be good at that point. Fresh new oil, good for another 3,000 miles, right? Yeah, still dripping. I was listening to some other Interceptor colleagues out there, and they usually go away for 20 minutes before they come back and it stops draining. So if you get the threads right, you got to do it slowly and carefully. Make sure you wipe everything off. Don't rush it. You don't want a thread to go off on this thing. That'd be a big expense. Get a thread wrong right on the engine. That's a pain. It's still coming out, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, it's still dripping. On the oil filter side, completely stopped, but in the bottom of the stuff, I'd wait. I'd wait and make sure everything comes out and push it through. It'll stop at some point. It's awfully hot in the garage, like it's steaming hot. So I took a break, the oil's still dripping. So it'll take 15-20 minutes for it to completely drain out. But this is what a mechanic feels when they fix your cars and their motorcycles. You just ride them in the nice air, with the air condition on. To the guys fixing your bikes or motorcycles, they'll have real appreciation when you go through that yourself. It's an interesting observation, but it is what it is. It's hot. So while we wait for all the oil to drain out, I believe it's all pretty much stopped right now. There's nothing coming out, but I would clean the chain. These Royal Enfields, I found out even through Himalayan, you need to keep it clean. So first I'll clean it up, let it sit for some time, and then lube the chain, right? It's pretty straightforward. It's a spray from Motul. I depend on them. It's pretty good. Oops. And it pretty much gives a wash. It kind of gets all the dust off. And I just keep rolling the chain. This pretty much gives the basic maintenance in. If you keep doing this, the bike will last you a long time. Of course, you wash and clean up. Some other maintenance is important. Of course, this takes premium gas, important. Make sure your brakes are good, make sure tires are good, make sure bikes align. All those things, very basic, very simple. A lot of things you can do yourself, which I usually don't, because, you're always very busy riding around or doing other things. And then there are times I do it myself because, it's difficult to get the right mechanic to do it, and sometimes they quote you a real weird price. Now, if I was stuck on some different country or riding motorcycle where I don't know what to do, they know what they're doing, and then you'll end up paying those premium prices. But in my own hometown, I can do these things myself.
I got to make sure bike's still kind of warm, but you got to be very careful on these things. Make sure you wipe it with a nice dry cloth. Make sure you clean up all this extra oil in here. It'll give you an impression as if the bike's leaking, and the bike's not leaking. It's just a stain from an oil change. Let's try this back now. As I keep cleaning, I get an odd drop still coming out. It's kind of weird. It's sitting there for more than 20 minutes, so I don't know what's going on, but it looks like I can try this now. Slowly fill it with your hand. Make sure that it's pretty straightforward. I think it's able to put it in. Yeah, it's easy. Turn it with the hand. If you can move it with your hand pretty much all the way in, that means you got it right. I'll tighten the bike. I'll tighten the nut a bit later. But there's some prep you got to do for your filter. So the filter has this little rubber ring on the top. This ring, you got to make sure you got oil on it. So when I crack open the oil, so I'm using 15W50 for mobile on this one. Of course, mobile's not sponsoring me. They should. But I think this is one of the best ones I could get out there. Usually they recommend 10W50, but most of the forums that I read on, especially in the US, they're using 15W30. I think 15 refers the winter number, a little bit slightly thicker than, marginally thicker than 10W. Only dust going inside. Seems to be clean. Quality seems to be okay. I found forums talking about some equivalent filters in the US, especially from other brands, but I went with a genuine OEM. It wasn't difficult to get. But what you do is you put a little bit of oil around the filter. These are tricks as a kid, when you're young, growing up. I used to fix all the scooters and motorcycles. I used to do a lot of stuff at home myself, save a lot of money for my parents and cousins and friends. They'll ask me to come and fix their scooters and motorcycles. It wasn't that difficult. I had a lot of tools in those days. Fixing tires, punctures, it's not that difficult. Aligning their bikes, tightening their spokes, getting their motorcycles and scooters tuned up. A lot of women who rode scooters and motorcycles would come and want me to fix their bikes. A lot of them were mechanically very solid too. They learn things themselves. A lot of friends learn from each other. Sometimes trial and error, which is not good. Just make sure you're straight. You should usually refer a manual or an owner's manual. They'll have some basic instructions in there. This was pretty easy. I tried to tighten with hand. It went in, and voila, it's in. Well, it wasn't that difficult. Try to tighten with hand because a lot of oil in the hands. You don't want to slip. So I had one more turn in there, one more turn in there. It's tight actually, not bad. Wow. I'm feeling pretty good, but I'll still give it a little torque, recommended torque of 2 pounds when I finally tighten it in. I should tighten the oil nut as well. Let me move this and make some space. Let me see if I can tighten this. Okay, 1,
2. I think that was good. I got it in, nice and clean. Don't you feel good? Yeah, it's good. Let's make sure we tighten the. Now, as the bike rides, in the heat, things expand. So you can't really tighten them hard. There's a recommended torque that these things go with. So you got to make sure you got to do it the right, torque. So let's see how much torque I need here. 1, 2. Oh, perfect. So I have one more challenge. My nozzle is just the right size. I had to be really careful pouring it in. It's totally 3 liters, and this is 945 ml, just short of liter. So make sure I pour it in slowly. Oops. So that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid coming out. You want to make sure it goes in. There you go. Slips a bit. Off it goes. So that'll create a problem because oil can create a lot of problems if you don't get it right inside. Gotta make sure you don't get it out. Make sure it goes in. So I got a liter in. It's hot, I'm sweaty. I want to make sure it doesn't come out. The nozzles, the funnel is just the right size of the hole. So you don't want it to do a poor job. That was a third bottle. That'll make it close to 3 liters. Oil change gives the viscosity, riding at different temperatures. Depends. There's a certain standard the engine has to heat up. How much hot they want this engine on, depending on the alloy and the aluminum and the steel chassis they've used. Because when you do long distance for 500 miles, you don't want an engine to catch fire. So it's important to have the right kind of oil in there for the oil to remain at a certain temperature for the bike to run smoothly. There's actually a window here. You can actually check the oil level. And recommended is the middle of these 2 marks, somewhere in the middle, slightly below that. Yeah, I'm right at the mark. Right at the mark. So you can start the bike. When you turn it on, you let the oil go around in different compartments of the engine. Eventually the filter is empty, so it has to fill it in. And let the oil settle. This will also give you a new level, if it's correct or not. I'm sitting slightly below the actual mark. It has to be right in the middle of 2 marks. So I have a 4th bottle here. I got 4 liters. Now I have to be careful because when I crack this open, I'm gonna make sure I can tighten it back so I can use it later. So let's see if I can do it right this time. Okay, this one actually cracked right, so hopefully. And so I'll have to gauge around 200 ml just by eyeballing it. That was the cover. So I'll have to eyeball myself another 200 ml in there to bring it on the mark.
I think that should, yeah, that sounds about right. I should be somewhere in the middle. Let me see. That's, yep, I think I got it right.
We have a successful oil change. I'll try and start the bike one more time.
Yep. It's right in the middle of two markers. That was a perfect oil change. Right between the two markers, sits right in the middle. And there was pretty good, slightly high actually, but that should do it. This gives me more safety net on my bike, that I'm riding a bike that's well maintained and well taken care of. Now next thing is wash the bike, get all the dirt off, and off you go for a good ride in the evening. It's beautiful out there. Let's do it. The bike will sound different, more smoother, and the gears should shift more smoothly. I think that's one indication the oil change was correct, the oil amount is correct, the way the bike's flowing ahead is correct. So let's go check it out. You need about 5 to 10 miles of riding with the fresh oil. Hopefully, yeah, so it looks like the oil amount is correct because the bike's behaving the way it should. Let the bike warm up, and then yeah, the reverse thrusting sounds correct. So these are visual checks, audio and visual checks you can do if oil change went correct. Sounds right. Yeah, it's firing correctly, sounding right. The gears are shifting smoothly. That's a good oil change. Yeah, it's good. One of the other important factors for a bike to behave correctly on the road is your tire pressure. You can't completely ignore it. I check it very regularly. Sounds good. I'm in the top gear and it went to 40 miles pretty smoothly without feeling the pinch. I'm at 3000 RPM. Doing about 45 miles and it's absolutely smooth.
Smoothly come down. It's remained in fifth gear, and it's just been pretty easy. Because of the fact that the oil change does have any mechanical engine, all the strong combustion engines need oil change regularly. It's important. Big cars, motorcycles, smaller mopeds. Absolutely extend the life of the engine as well. Very important. Great looking out there. Right, fast.
If you like watching Riding with Cash, hit subscribe and join me on the next ride.